Episode 150 of 5 Drinks Through Midnight. The show, we bring the questions, guests bring the drinks. We try to wrap up before midnight. Today, we're headed into the West Village here in New York City to talk to Noah Small, Beverage Director for the Empellón Restaurant Group. But before we do, like and subscribe, hit the bells, the whistles, leave a comment if you like what we're doing. Let's get started. Noah, thanks so much for having us at Empellón. 5 drinks or midnight, 5 drinks, 5 questions, midnight, whatever comes first. How you doing today, sir?
Great, thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you. We're so excited. I guess jumping right in, what are we drinking first?
We're going to have our classic margarita, so we serve this pretty much the same way at all 4 Empellón locations.
Okay.
Same recipe, not always the same glass, but it's the same drink.
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers.
That's a damn good day to start off with a margarita.
Yeah, it's a simple Tommy style, so tequila, fresh lime, and agave nectar, nothing else. Half run of smoked salt, that's it. We use Pueblo Viejo Blanco for all our classic margaritas. That's our house brand,
Okay.
as it were. Always a favorite. Really clean, family owned. Also really important to us. We buy a lot of tequila, so
Okay.
try to buy as much family owned and old Mexican products as we can.
All right. Well, question 1, always an origin story. So how'd you get started in the hospitality world?
Okay, so like a lot of people, I started out as a dishwasher.
Okay.
I think I was 15.
All right.
I was a dishwasher in a catering company.
Okay.
And I remember meeting the woman who was my boss. And the first thing she said was, "I'm crazy."
I am crazy.
And as at 15-year-old, I didn't know really what that meant.
Sure.
I mean, I thought I did.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
think you're
yeah,
doing
yeah,
it.
yeah.
You know, one of the things you learn over the years is just the depths of crazy. But she was right. She was also very nice. She was always really nice to me. I had nothing but nice things to say about her, but she definitely was crazy. And yeah, started out there. And being a dishwasher for a catering company is rough because it's especially disgusting. Because you get all the dirty dishes like a day later.
Sure.
After they've just
Oh,
been
sitting, yeah.
Right? Being on the dishwashing side really not inspires, but motivates you
Okay.
to try and move out of that.
Yep.
And so started out doing that. I eventually, I think by the time I was by the time I was 16, I started working as a prep cook and a line cook in a restaurant. And so when I was in high school, I had a full-time job as a line cook.
Okay.
And which was interesting. And this is, I'm dating myself, but this is the early and mid 90s.
Yeah.
And so the business then very different. There really was no thought about it being any type of career. That didn't really exist. I didn't grow up in a place that was a culinary destination of any kind. Or I did not at that time really have a true culinary tradition, with all due respect. I grew up just outside of Boston, so at that time even Boston itself didn't have a culinary identity. So it's very different.
Yeah.
But then this was just really a job. But I did really I love to cook. My mother taught me to cook at a young age. I always loved that, and I was always really into flavor. And I always wanted to do or find better ways to do things. Like I always thought, okay, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better ingredient or some other thing, or a way to do things better. So, and at that time, usually the people you're working for are not interested in that at all.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I really just saw it as a way to pay for college. So I was working to save money to even go to school. I didn't really think that any of this world would fit into life, after I went to college.
Right.
And I went to school, got a degree in music. I'm a drummer.
Yeah.
I played drums professionally by the time I was also 16. That's about when I started getting paid to play.
Okay.
So I figured I would be in that world, and then once I was in college, I worked in the music business and concert production. That was great, and you know, played music, had a great time. Eventually, after college, I wound up, I was a pastry chef for a hot second someplace, not qualified to do that, never was, still I can't bake cookies.
Okay.
I wouldn't ever apply for that job.
Yeah.
It just sort of happened for a minute. But I wound up in LA playing with some bands in 2001. And I was walking down the street, I feel like I was going to like a CD store.
Okay.
Because they still had those.
Yeah.
And there's a big wine shop right there. And that store's actually still there. But big wine shop with a cigar store attached to it. I had actually worked in a cigar store when I was in college, which might have been the best job I ever had, actually.
Okay.
I in a cigar store, good time, you know. So all of my work was kind of, you know, around, you know, rock and roll, booze, and cigars. So it was everything a growing boy needs.
Right.
And it's called Wally's Wine and Spirits, which is a huge wine retailer, you know, and it's still like cheese today. I think they even have a restaurant someplace. But at the time, I didn't know anything about it, or really didn't know much about wine or the beverage side other than a casual interest. So I had been interested in it, in that. Like when I was in college, my roommate and I, we had like a bar set up in our room where we had like actual proper cocktail glasses. For some reason, we got it into our heads that like drinking martinis and smoking cigars was like
That's what you do.
it was a thing.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Then we learned how to make Manhattans. You know, that was like really before this had caught on. Although remember the '90s, people were into, you know, swing dancing and Sinatra. And all the things like that. I guess that may have.
Yeah.
You know, the movie Swingers.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be the guy in the PG-13 movie everyone's really hoping makes it happen. I want you to be like the guy in the rated R movie. You're a bad man. You're a bad man. You're a bad.
Yeah.
Like,
your money, baby. Your money.
Yeah, that all that somehow inspired us
Yeah.
to be interested in that. But until that point, like that was what I knew, and I could go into the store and I said, "Yeah, I opened a cigar store. You guys are looking for help?" And the woman that introduced me, she said, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh, well, you have experience in restaurants, and they have a cheese counter." She said, "Hey, our cheesemonger needs to go away for a month. Do you think you could take care of the cheese?" I said, "I guess."
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
And so I did, and I learned all about, you know, I read the cheese primer. Wasn't a super hard job, fun. I learned all about cheese. And how you should properly take care of it, which is a job.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there's these older guys who worked in the shop, and they would all like teach me stuff every day. Like I would learn something. It wasn't necessarily related to what we were doing. They'd be standing around, and you know, one of them taught me how to like, you know, get water in the desert.
Okay.
You know, like stuff like that. It's very cool, and also about wine and how you should taste it and how to go through everything. It was kind of neat.
Yeah, it's
And
awesome.
so when I was done taking care of the cheese for them, that's kind of when I started to learn a little bit about wine. They had a proper like sales desk, so people would call and order things, and most of their business was for the entertainment.
Okay.
So people's assistants call and
All right.
send a bottle of wine to whatever very famous person because they had to come on or something. And so it was really dealing with that. That was like a full-time job, just to sit there and answer the phone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, all day. Like surprising amount of stuff was sold that way. This is really pre-internet, the nascent days of that. You know, we still had a computer screen that was like black.
Yeah, with green light. Yeah.
That's
The Commodore 64 with the big old floppy
basically,
disk.
yeah, it was like doing it on a Commodore 64 or the like, just because that's what there was.
Yeah.
And you know, and little by little, kind of learning, you know, bits and pieces about wine. You know, and then the first wine tasting I did was with like the rep from Chateau Montelena, and then I think maybe it was it was Laurent Perrier. You know, it was a big champagne house, and it was a big red. Like these were people who kind of come through there. At the time, those were really big names in wine. And Montelena and Laurent Perrier are still big, although the wine world has broadened so much into so many other things. Nobody you know, impressed by that. But at the time, it was like, this was a big deal. So I started to learn that, and I wound up back on the East Coast and started bartending.
Okay.
So I sort of got into it that way, and I worked in a couple of different prominent restaurant groups in Boston. the years and learned more, sort of find my way.
Okay.
Gradually just learned more and more stuff, just paid attention. You know? And again, I never really thought about it as a career. It was just what I was doing, and trying to get music things going or doing something else. I kind of waited around maybe do something else. I didn't think.
Yeah. This was going to be it?
No, I didn't really, because there just wasn't that much of it. I mean, like, there was no, beverage directors, there were certain sommeliers.
Right.
Beverage directors, cocktails, restaurant groups were really kind of rare the way we know them now. And, but, I had all this kind of neat experience, I guess, and it was always easy to find work in good places, and I worked at some really nice restaurants. That's 2024, so 16 and a half years ago, wound up in New York, and my wife was offered a job here. She wasn't my wife at the time,
right?
But out of the blue, she was offered a job in New York, which was like, she wasn't necessarily interested in. I was like, oh, she let's go see what that's about. And we she wanted to take the job and found ourselves here. And I was like, I guess I'll go find a job. So I did, and that was actually when I got my first job in New York was I think the last time I had really sought work.
Okay.
Everything from there was just through making friends.
Yeah.
So I just responded to a Craigslist as you did.
Yeah.
My first job in New York was at the original Beaver House.
Okay.
It's now Casa.
Yeah.
Worked there and just kind of bounced around over the first year and a half that I was here, and then I wound up working at Peacock Alley, which was a cocktail bar in a well-known store.
Yep.
And so that's where I met Frank.
Nice.
So I worked for Frank Caiafa for many, many years, and it was also randomly I got that job, which was just through a friend of mine in Boston who wound up being food and beverage director for Woolworth. Out of the blue, also. Was how I was connected with that. So then I landed in this amazing bartender in terms of financially a very lucrative environment. It was a unique gig. Could have been worse, put that. But also a great environment in terms of, okay, what did we get to pour? The type of clientele we had. Everything is the only way I put it.
Yeah.
From the President of the United States on down to whatever.
Yeah.
Really.
People like me.
Or further down. Yeah. Just all of it all at once.
Yeah.
So you have cocktail enthusiasts and people visiting from who knows where that want to drink, SoCo.
Yeah.
We had both.
That's awesome.
So you had to wear a lot of different hats, and the regulars there were totally different than normal regulars you have in the bar. That people would stay there. Some people would work in New York but live out of town, so they work in the city 3 days a week, and that's where they would stay. So they were regulars.
Nice.
But then you had regulars that would come to New York twice a year.
Okay.
So you'd see them every 6 months.
That's awesome.
Or once a year. But they would always come back and they'd remember you, and it was in that way. That part was probably the coolest.
That's awesome.
Which is that you had all these connections to, and then people from around the world. People would come from Norway, would be there twice a year, but they would always be there.
That's awesome.
And they'd always want to come by and say, you can also, just like any other regular, you know what they want to drink.
Yeah.
That's how it was. So while I was there, I got involved in doing some consulting and other things, which also, again, before I got to New York, I didn't do that.
Right.
Again, I didn't think any of this information that I had in my head was of any value other than maybe interesting to somebody. I had a random conversation with a sommelier friend of mine. I moved from Boston, which was on the West Coast, my friend Brick. One of the very nice guys in the business. So I don't know how it was that I wound up on the phone with him. I asked him something, about what to do with this or what next. I was like, you know what? It's like, go find the person who's the next David Chang. Don't go work for David Chang. Don't go work for Jean George or David. You could go do that if you want, but go with the person who maybe is going to do that next, which I never even thought. I was like,
it's a great advice.
Yeah. Okay. All you got to do is find the next whatever.
Yeah.
Wait. And so I said, that's interesting. And then maybe within a week is when I met with the folks here at Empellón. So Empellón was about 6 months old at that time, just one restaurant. So opened the second restaurant. So our second restaurant opened within 10 months first. So
Wow.
this grew quickly, right? It escalated. And, they needed people.
Yeah.
And I think I was connected with them through Gary Regan.
Okay.
He used to have an email blast or something. I can't remember if it was through that or if he had emailed me, because I know I had emailed him something. I don't know. We never met face to face, and then exactly. So, but he did do that bit of good in terms of connecting me with this one.
That's awesome.
Which is amazing. So that's my Gary story. Everyone else is far more exciting.
Yeah.
And met with them, and they were like, when you come in, do some training here in this location. This is the original, and then we're going to open in a couple months the next one. So I came in and totally different type of place. Right now we're like a bar more than anything.
Okay.
At the time, it was a very sit-down restaurant, owned by a famous chef.
Yeah.
And all the table chair with low tops. Made reservations. That's how it was. But the bar, this is an ancient bar. This is the same one. This has been here. We don't know how long. I know that this place has been a restaurant since at least the 30s.
Okay.
Maybe longer than that, and I don't know if the bar ever changed by the looks of it. But there was only one sink back here.
Okay.
Maybe hundreds and hundreds of margaritas and one sink. So there were things that had to get to which eventually didn't get.
Awesome.
It was very different. It was definitely a different thing. And so I got involved with them really just kind of as a bartender, and then I was on the opening crew for Cocina, which was the same restaurant. And shortly after that, they kind of asked me, hey, would you be interested in management? And I started doing beverage purchasing. And eventually, I think it was probably 2014-ish, I'm going to say, is when I took over beverage for the whole.
Okay. Awesome.
I mean, it kind of created that as a job. Didn't really have somebody that did the whole thing. So it was purchasing, creativity, managing vendors, budgeting, training. That wasn't really cohesively in one place. There was different things that had happened. The person who would write cocktail lists, purchase,
Okay.
whatever.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll just kind of invent this job.
Awesome.
So I did. And, at the same time, I was still, bartending maybe 4 nights a week, doing this. And it just kind of grew.
Nice.
Over time, we opened our big restaurant in Midtown, on the Upper West Side. We operated a rooftop bar at the Pop 39 on Salvation Taco for a while. That's kind of been it. I guess that's sort of the story.
That's awesome.
The big, it's a long and rambling and winding one. And the thing is that the takeaway was just that this wasn't a job. When I started out as a dishwasher, what I do now, I don't think this was a job.
Okay.
There was bartenders.
Sure.
There were sommeliers. Maybe there were cocktail vendors.
Yeah.
Somewhat. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't even know. It wasn't even something I was aware of being a job. Even being a chef.
Yeah.
Didn't seem like a career choice at that time. Like everybody I knew that was a chef, I knew at least where I was. Didn't seem like a choice.
Nope.
Like how life had kind of made that for them. Certain people really loved to cook.
Yeah.
But a lot of people that were in it, they were there for other reasons.
Yep.
And the only household name for a chef, was Empellón.
And he takes some green onions and he goes back.
With all due respect,
Yeah.
I think that was kind of that was maybe the start of it, where people had started to get to know chefs as personalities. And start to see this business different.
Yeah.
And to see restaurants on the whole as creative vehicles. And that wasn't part of the discussion at large. I mean, there's certainly, there are all those places.
Yeah.
But I think for the way that all of us kind of know restaurants and bars now, it's quite different. So I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And for the better.
Yeah. Did you ever get to jam out with Frank, being a drummer and him?
Frank and I have actually never done that.
There we go.
Then
Gotta make that happen.
we'll have to get that together. We've talked a lot about it over the years, but not. No, never got.
Okay. Well, there we go. That's question 1.
Okay.
Answered. Fucking glorious drink.
Great.
Cheers.
Cheers, man.
Drink 2, question 2, what are we drinking?
All right, so this drink is called Fruit Blood.
Okay.
Okay, we sell this at Empellón Al Pastor in the East Village.
Okay.
It's been on the menu there a long time. I think really one of the only things to not change on that menu. And the origin story of this drink, I remember it's probably about 6 years ago. So our chef owner, Alex Stupak, who founded our group here, texted me on a Monday morning, like at 9 a.m. and he says, "Can we have a drink and call it Fruit Blood?" And I was like, yeah, sure. You're the boss.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I won't get into the name, but he's a metal guy, so that inspires a lot of the things you see around in our vibe.
Love it.
I'm not a metal person. I love music, but metal's the one thing I've never been way into. I respect it, but I try and take it in as much as I can to understand his point of view. But anyway, he says, "Can we call it Fruit Blood?" I said, "Yeah, sure." And so I had maybe just that same week had been when I first tried this rum here. So this is Paranubes. This is rum from Mexico.
Okay. Oh wow. All right.
And it's made with 3 different kinds of cane. And so it's the juice, so it's made in an agricultural style, as it were. Okay. Super funky. And this was really one of the first artisanal rums that come in from Mexico, at least that I had tried. Probably the only thing in New York at that time. There's more now, but then it was just this. And I remember sales rep bringing it in and like, "Hey, you gotta try this." So we kind of tried it together, and you gotta smell it. So if you've never had it, smell it first.
Oh.
Wow, right? It smells like Punta Nesca.
That's funky.
It's like canned tomatoes and black olives.
Yeah.
Right? Not what it tastes like, but that is the nose. Remember, I'm like, wow, this is wild. So I had just tasted this, and it was fresh in my mind, and I had, like, all right, well, it's got this red color. So very quickly, it came together. I don't know how, but it's this Paranubes rum with sweet vermouth, pomegranate juice, Campari, and a mix of lemon and lime. And that's it.
Awesome. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And if you were across town, it comes in skull.
Okay.
As you do.
All right.
So yeah, that's that drink. It's I don't know. It's got a vibe.
Fuck yeah. I'm digging that. That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it just sort of combines the funk and the bitter.
Yeah.
And the grip of the pomegranate. And it's fun. We could have a few of these and make some bad decisions.
Yeah. I was just saying, like, all right. So then question 2, and again, I think perfect for this. You talked about how you're a flavor guy. What is your philosophy when it comes to creating a program, especially with multiple locations?
Okay. Well.
Or I guess better, how do you approach it? Like,
how I approach it is this way. And, there isn't any kind of handbook or thing out there. I'm sure anybody else who does multiple programs, that sure have their own way.
Yeah.
The way I've done it, since we're a chef-owned, chef-driven type of brand, I look at the food menu first, just to get I really want it to be coherent with everything that's happening. Okay, so I don't want us to think of drink menu, food menu. It's just a menu.
Gotcha.
Right? It's just the overall thing.
Yeah.
So I think we really try and have those things be seamless and feel like they belong together. And that's right down to even fixtures and things like that. So you're looking at glassware alongside plates.
Gotcha.
When you're looking at restaurants and things like that, they're in a formal sit-down sense. We actually spend a lot of time with that. And so once I know what the overall idea of it is, and there's ones that I've done for things that I haven't opened also so around again. Call it, hey, I have an opportunity to do something that's like this. Let's write what the spec reviews are going to be.
Okay.
And I do that in the same fashion. But, I've had different ways. So when we opened Empellón in Midtown, on Madison, for us it was our, obviously it was our largest project, and for New York it was like this really like postmodernist take on Mexican. And now there are quite a few other ones around, but then it was sort of unique in that we're putting this big in the middle of Midtown. We're going to foist this weird point of view on people.
Gotcha.
In 2017. And so what I did there, and I've done a version of this ever since. So I'm like, all right, this is going to be Mexican, New York. There needs to be a really there needs to be a synthesis of those things. And so I took a piece of paper and I made one of those graphs, where it's like,
oh yeah,
I made 4, and so like going this way was the future, and that way was the past, and this way was New York, and that way was Mexico.
Okay.
Right? And so down in Mexico, you'd write Margarita, or you'd write Paloma
right,
for the drinks. And then New York, you would put, according by time, I don't know, the New York Sour, the Manhattan, whatever, any of those drinks and things we associate. And what I felt like the menu would land over here. So it would be where those two things came together. We're going towards the future, but it's things that, where do those things come together? And that's how that menu came to be, as I started just working my way across or whatever other ideas. That was the thing for me. And most of those things wound up on the menu, some didn't, but that was the thing that sort of kickstarted the process to get a framework. It also helps with us, like, being Mexican, we're always going to have a margarita section of the menu. People immediately when they walk in want a margarita, when they figure out what they're going to drink next.
Yeah.
It's just, can you get a margarita? Yes. Right?
Yeah.
So that's what we started with. Like, let's just start there. And it's our, aperitif.
Yes. Quick, easy, comfortable.
Margarita, it's great.
Everybody.
Not thirsty.
Yes.
Just get everybody with something in their hand.
Fucking
and then
slap them, so
and then we can sort of go from there. So I'll have that margarita section. It'll be, like I said, the classic is always going to be the same.
Yep.
I think. And we have a couple of other flavors and things we do that are basically the same area. People expect it to get margarita, but the rest of it is whatever we think is cool.
Okay.
So that's been my approach. So when we did a non-Mexican concept, when we opened Nisha, which was also in Midtown, that was our version of New American. I took a similar approach, whereas I sort of started. I did 2 versions. I started with a blank map of the United States. Like, this was the outline. I started putting those there. I started going kind of regional, like it's where cities were. Like, okay, what do we associate with this city, with that city? What drinks come to mind? I looked at it that way, and then I threw that. I got one idea out of it, and I kept. But as we were going through it, Alex called me one time, and he was like, "Hey, if you were standing in Russia, right, and if you could walk there, right, if you use any of those ingredients, start with that. Don't use Italy, don't really lean on Italy and France, because we got plenty of that here. Think about all the other flavors that you encounter. So if you get through the Middle East into what was Persia, and then there's a whole world of flavor there, North Africa, a whole world of flavor there, Eastern Europe, in the Balkans, whole worlds of flavor that are super necessarily embraced all the time, or we didn't always think of, but they had a place in New American cuisine for sure. All these people here, right? We eat all these things all the time, so we know what they are. And so that became the thing for that. Just I was looking at a map of the wrong place.
Okay.
And so it's usually something like that. I will come up with some thing that is a way in.
Okay.
And for me, sometimes it's like maps or graphs.
No, that's awesome.
And that's just for me. It's not like anything I ever need to show people. We don't go over it in training staff, but it's just a place where I need a jumping off point, and it's worked out that was it.
Awesome. And then does Chef get final veto of cocktails, or is he hands off and I make food, you make the drink kind of thing? Or?
No, it's a little of both. I love to taste him on everything, and he gives me a lot of leeway at this point to do what I think is best, but I think he gets final sales. If something isn't right for him, it's not going to work. It's the brand comes from the machine.
Okay.
So all of that has to be coherent,
Right.
I feel like. You know, and if I'm bullish on something, like, no, it has to be this, he'll be like, all right.
If
Trust that I believe strongly, but I can't think of a situation where it's come to that.
Okay.
You know, but we always have go through tastings and thinking it through, and usually I'm giving him a finished product and he's like, oh, this is great. And other times, sometimes he's got a great idea that'll go with that. I'll be like, oh, I like this, but what if you did this with that? And it was just something I hadn't done.
Or can we call you up at 9 o'clock in the morning and say, let's make
Yeah, no, you can do that too. I was like, no, every now and again, I don't know if he's done that exactly before or since.
Okay.
I don't know what was on his mind. He was like, hey,
all right.
You know, I was doing inventory. I remember exactly where I was standing. I was just like, can we call it fruit blight? And I was like, okay, sure, all right, yeah, give me a minute.
And then not looking for like industry secrets or anything, but like what's R&D then like? Do you sit there and like do you have like a dish and then do you like make multiple like variations and then have staff taste, or is it just kind of
all of the above? Man. I really it's funny because it comes in waves for me. Like I can do a whole menu real fast and everything I make works great.
Right. Yeah.
I think it does. Right?
Yeah.
And other times, you know, I'll go back to trying to make something that I think is going to just be fantastic and it sucks. And but when that happens, I'm like, you know what? Like today isn't the day.
You gotcha.
I put it down. It's like, you know, I'm
just
going to come back. Yeah. You know, sometimes I have people taste. Like, a lot of times I'll work at the bar in Midtown just because I have the most ingredients there to kind of play with at all times. And you know, maybe works behind the bar. When I'm doing that, I'll always be like, hey, we can do this.
Yeah.
More or less, whatever, you know, if I want an opinion. And that's kind of how it
Awesome.
goes. You know, other times I'll go in when they're closed. Like I like to, you know, kind of Saturday morning or something.
Okay.
I'll go in there and get involved and try and mess around with some things.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Question 2.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Question 3, drink 3. What are we drinking?
All right. This drink's called The Walking Dead.
Okay.
So this is sort of a riff, I guess, on a zombie.
All right.
Was really the inspiration. And a true zombie is a little hard to make unless you have Don's secret recipe for the syrup. But with this one, you know, we're kind of messing around. We sort of synthesize that as best we can. We're paying homage to the idea and we're trying to make a zombie. So this drink actually leans on raicilla, right? So this is an agave spirit made in Jalisco. More closely, so everybody knows Jalisco as the homeland of tequila. Raicilla is, you know, closer, I think, in terms of flavor profile and style to the world of mezcal than is tequila, certainly. It does have its own denomination of origin. It comes from the mountains on the western side of Jalisco before you get to the Pacific, and it's been made there forever. If I was to blindfold you and tell you, hey, this is mezcal, you know where you go. It is not. It's its own thing.
Okay.
It certainly lives under the broad category of all the things that are agave spirits. But what I like about raicilla, it really adds, you know, a stiff spine to a drink. It can be an expensive ingredient to add, as this, you know, it's made in very small batches. Nobody's that I know is making industrial raicilla that comes cheap. But when you have a lot of other bold flavors going on, you know, raicilla is not easily overpowered. So I thought this would be a fun way to play around with that. So we're using fresh pink grapefruit juice. We got a little bit of reposado tequila in there, and then to sort of get the vibe of, you know, Don's special syrup, we got Liquor 43 and Falernum.
Okay. Awesome. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, fuck yeah. Wow.
So you got like the spice and then that earthiness that you get from the raicilla.
Yeah.
They play.
Wow.
You know, it's got a very tiki vibe to it with, you know, the falernum lens. But you know, you get a little bit of the wood from the reposado, and then, you know, the raicilla cuts right through.
It's, wow. Not question 3, but are you like a big tiki guy? Like you even said, like our last drink was supposed to be served in a skull.
Yeah.
And now we're doing the zombie. Like,
Yes.
is that kind of your drink profile? Are you a big tiki head guy?
Yeah,
Like,
guilty.
All right.
Guilty. No, I love tiki stuff. And like I grew up in Massachusetts, so in Massachusetts we have this wacky version of Chinese food
Yep.
that we don't really have other places. Leans heavy on fried stuff and crab rangoon.
Yep.
And it usually goes along with these like what they like to label as Polynesian things. And it's all of the worst things about tiki that people get upset about are on display. Yeah, I've had a Mai Tai there that I'm pretty sure was made with vodka. I love how it's campy, how it's completely fabricated. Like there's no reality that it's based in. And if you do it right, and you're making these drinks with the ingredients you're supposed to make them with, it's the coolest thing in the world. It's like it's what Disneyland should be.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love tiki. I like how we've had real tiki bars here in the city.
Yep.
There's a very hard business model to make it go up.
Yeah.
That there are way easier ways to make a buck than tiki drinks. But yeah, and we've always kind of dabbled in it. There's always a little tiki flair somehow stashed into each program.
Nice.
We could even have, at one point, I've had tiki sessions of menus, just for fun.
Yeah. No, and I love that. I think New York is finally getting around because like people are bringing back like Tiki Thursdays and like stuff like that. And I love that Tiki's kind of making an official comeback.
I think there's
not that it ever went away, but I think more popular again, if you will.
Yeah, well, it comes down to like, availability of ingredients.
Yeah.
So now you have a seemingly endless and ever-growing supply of both rums and liqueurs. The expectation about fresh juices and things is very normal, which is great. That's probably the best thing that's come out of the whole cocktail revival, I don't know where we call it, is that the bar is now higher kind of everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? So like you just expect fresh juice. Like it's expect.
Yeah.
And properly made thing. Like you can call a Negroni and the odds of you getting a Negroni are very good.
Yeah.
Right? And it was not long ago that you couldn't do that.
Yeah. People would be like, what?
Huh? What?
Yeah.
Right? It just wasn't a thing. Or people would be shaking in the head.
Yeah.
It wasn't long. So I think all of this has resulted in good tiki.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome. Like I'm a big rum guy. I think
Yes.
rum is awesome. Rum and agave are my favorites. I think there's the most diversity within the categories.
Gotcha.
To me, meaning like rum from you can make rum anywhere.
Yeah.
But like the rum from over here and the rum from over there do not taste the same.
Yeah.
And there is that sense of place that goes with rum for sure. And I also like the way it's never caught on.
Yeah.
Really, right? So it's the price level.
Yeah.
That's
It's not. Yeah.
I don't want to blow up anyone's spot with this.
No.
But like I've always said, $50 of rum is worth like $200 of cognac.
Oh yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Like
With all due respect to cognac, but like just in terms of bang for buck.
Yeah.
Rum is it.
Yeah. Like I agree. Like I would love to see rum or even cognac kind of make like it like spirit this like in 2025, but like I don't like because again I don't want to have to start paying a shit ton of money for rum again.
Right.
So like,
I like that you can.
Let's keep that low. But yeah, like it just there's a lot of great rums out there. And like, do you have a favorite tiki place in the city? Or even better yet, do you have like a whole tiki collection at home?
I got a couple of things. I don't have a ton of.
Like, are you
tiki,
a glass guy or like?
I've got maybe for tiki at home. I feel like I have one like tiki head thing that I use to keep straws in.
Okay.
I have 3 kids, so I try and keep my clutter
Out of there. Yeah.
right. Like living in a Manhattan apartment.
Yeah, I get you.
So a lot of like tiki, paraphernalia. I don't have a ton. I do have my share of rum in the house.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Matter, but in terms of like scorpion bowls,
Yeah.
which we have here.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, we have scorpion. We do agave scorpion bowls
Yeah.
in the East Village. But no, I don't have a ton. But in terms of places that I like, when I lived in the Lower East Side, like right around the corner from what was the one on Essex? It's named for the cocktail that they got sued over. Painkillers.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
I
All right.
just lived right around,
Yeah.
just lived right around the corner from Painkillers. I liked that one a lot because that was a great way to end the night if you didn't want to remember what happened.
Yeah.
And it was easy to stagger home from that place. I liked that one a lot, which is no longer there. But the new place on Second,
Paradise
Lost is great.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun.
We interviewed Kitty, and it was fucking amazing. Like,
Yeah.
just
A lot of fun.
yeah, love it. All right. So, question 3. We call this our talking shit segment because we've had 3 drinks.
Okay.
We're a little bit more honest and open with ourselves. So, question 3. Who's a worse guest? Chad or Fitzy?
Hey, Chad, what's up? Pound it out. That's it. So how's it going there, Chad? All your calls going okay? You zipping right through 'em, no matter how hot it gets. Does that fleece vest stay on? Hey, don't you have to get on a Zoom call?
Tell you what, Lenny, it is a magical time of the year.
Yeah, Fitzy, I don't know why she won't call you back, man. I don't know.
Rummaging around in your mother's attic, getting your winter clothes out,
Did you tell her the story about the time you got drunk with Terry O'Reilly at Daisy Buchanan's?
and snuggled in a nice sweater,
Dude, she's 26. She's not gonna know who Terry O'Reilly is.
fucking pitch black out by 3:45.
I can't imagine why this girl wouldn't call you back. I mean, I know you can talk a dog off a meat truck, but I don't think she likes your company.
You know what, Barkeep? You know what I'm in the mood for? I'm in the mood for a toasty, roasty, soul-warming, soothing, hot... I fucking gotcha. Frozen mudslide. Go.
Chad. Always. Without it, yeah, 7 days a week, twice on Sunday. Chad. Because Fitzy is local color,
Okay.
right? Fitzy's an important part of the bar's personality.
Okay.
Right? Chad, no.
No.
Chad has none of the things that make Fitzy fun. As much as Fitzy's a low life,
Yep.
Fitzy has his place in society. Chad is more like a tick.
Okay. Yeah, just something that keeps bugging you.
Yep, I would say that. Yeah. Should I explain that?
Yes, please.
Okay, so we started about a little over a year ago, a video series. So we started with Misha, where we had a thing called Happy Hour with Masters.
Yeah.
So myself, Chef Alex, we're both from Massachusetts, and I don't know how this idea really came about, other than I think it was mostly Alex's idea, to be fair, where he was like, what if we had this thing with a few townies, townie market talking to each other. It grew into what it was, and that's about all I remember from it, where it was like, he knew that he wanted to say, hey, Barkeep! Like, I think he knew that going in, and otherwise, all those things are 100% improvised. And whereby, and he's also not Fitzy. Fitzy's another person we don't see.
Yeah.
But Fitzy is a townie at some bar in Massachusetts, and he's a proper lowlife, but he's also stereotypical, meaning like everywhere in the world, wherever you are, that has a local watering hole, has its version of a Fitzy.
Yep.
So it's like for us in Massachusetts, we go, hey, Fitzy. Like that's who he is. And he's a guy who's there, and might be a little toxic. Definitely has a drinking problem. Definitely a low life. Maybe some scumbag tendencies. Maybe not quite a scumbag. But, perhaps some lovable things about him.
It's local.
Yeah, he's just a local color.
Yeah.
Spending his paycheck at the bar.
Yeah.
And that's who Fitzy is.
Or better yet, like even getting his paycheck cash at the bar.
Right.
Like that's
right, for sure.
signs it over.
Yep. And so we had the happy hour with Massholes, or it was happy hour with New York Mass.
Yeah.
Right? Like we had the Masshole thing with New York license
Yeah.
plate. And we, at some point, I was just like, that's kind of enough for that. So then I thought of the idea that we would have drinking alone with no one.
Yeah.
And so I'd be at our other bar in Midtown, and this would be me talking to some guy named Chad, you know, who wears a fleece vest and all this to work, who has no personality. You know, that is getting salad, sweet green. That's his personality. And so, you know, that's a different kind of bar regular. So if you've worked at a bar in Midtown, you know who Chad is. Yeah, we know who Chad is. Yeah. And that's not to say everybody who works there who wears a fleece vest and works in finance is that way. Not the case. But we know the one that is really insufferable. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have any redeeming qualities. Yeah. That's Chad. I'll take Fitzy over. I'll take having a kick Fitzy out every now and again.
Love it. Awesome. Well, there we go. We talked a little shit, so there we go. Cheers. Yeah. Question 4, drink 4. What are we drinking?
Okay, so this is a drink that we have on our menu in Midtown. This is called Deacon Blues. Ooh. So one personal thing about me is I almost always have a Steely Dan reference on my menus. Okay. Someplace. All right. So that's what this is. I don't know when I got started with that. As a big Steely Dan fan, I just was like, you know what, I'm always going to have some Steely Dan reference tucked in. And it's not always going to be the name of the song. This is the name of the song. Sometimes it's a line. So anyway, this sort of satisfies the need for there to be a dark, stirred, tequila-based cocktail on a menu. So we're using añejo tequila. In this case, it's Casa Noble añejo, Spanish brandy, sweet remove, orange juice. So it's, you know, it's somewhere in the Manhattan Vieux Carré kind of universe. All right. I guess. All right. It works well with different añejos too. So I mentioned I use Casa Noble añejo. I do like their approach as a branch and barrel, but it also tastes really nice with other añejos. It's great with Don Fulano if you really want to be a agave forward with it. When Excelsior was available, I was really with that at one point as well, and that was great. But this satisfies the brown liquor. All right. Awesome. Cheers.
That's quite classy. Like that's.
Oh yeah, you want to sit in front of the fire.
Yeah, like that's. I need my smoking jacket and my pipe, and I just kind of want to be like,
100%. That's the idea. So this, you want to, cool weather. Yeah. And this. Really I do like using Spanish brandy. I think that is an overlooked category in the U.S. Okay. It's kind of big in other countries. I was thinking plenty of things here. But I love it as a cocktail. It's great. It's not as assertive as Armagnac, which I don't know also. Or, it tends to also, it mixes, I think, a little more easily than Cognac does in a lot of contexts. But and it does play well with that.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so question 4. Is there something happening in the hospitality industry that's got you really excited? And if so, how are you adapting to bring that into the family of bars?
The martini, redux that's happened over the last, since the pandemic. Yeah. I kind of like that. And the reason I like that is just that when martinis came back big in the 90s, it was all about just enormous glasses of cold vodka. Okay, and that's fine if that's what you like. Yeah. But the newer version of this is saying, oh wait, you know what? Like vermouth and gin are really important here. And it's really about the interplay of those things. And it's not about being an enormous drink. It's small. Like you should have it before dinner. And it should not, one of them hopefully should not make you, inebriated. I don't recommend operating a forklift after it, for example. But if you had to in a pinch, maybe you could. I do like that martinis have come back and people have had really interesting ideas and ways to still present them that are really valid. With other flavors, I think is cool. It's a good use of the things that you have on hand, and they're not necessarily the most expensive either. There's great gin that's expensive. I like that that's back. And it's not necessarily a vodka story. Sure. So I like that that's going on. I like the way that people have actually somehow embraced additive-free tequila. That's a legit movement now. And 5 years ago, 4 years ago, that was just something that people, in my position, talked about. Yeah. And now that is very much out there amongst people, and people have started to embrace the idea of better tequila.
Yeah.
You know, and by better tequila, I don't mean the most expensive, silly thing.
Yeah.
I'm not calling out anyone's brand.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not the talking shit sentence.
Yeah, no, we got that one.
I'm not gonna do that. There's other people out there who
Yeah.
will do that for us, but the fact that they'll embrace the producers that are upholding the tradition, I think that's awesome. I mean, I would not have anticipated that people would have latched onto that somehow. So that's great. I'm happy to see that. You know, and like I mentioned before, I'm happy to see that the bar is just generally higher.
Yeah.
Across the board for all things that I like. You know, there's definitely been a step back from a lot of things in the past, and a lot of those things are decent. You know, I mean, things have gotten more expensive for sure.
Sure.
For better or worse, a lot of the things that live in the middle are gone. It's very hard to make the middle work anymore, so we're seeing way more bar concepts everywhere. Or places that were like a tasting menu, they're now like having a bar concept.
Yeah.
That's not. But part of that is the economic reality, and people need to, not just operators, but customers.
Yeah.
Kind of get to what that means. Getting people, living wages in this business should have always been.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And just what that means is different things. It'd be nice to see commercial rents in New York come down a little bit.
Yeah.
Not just as in terms of operating business, but I think exorbitant commercial rents kind of squash creativity a little bit.
Sure.
Right.
Well, you see a lot of places go out of business because the landlord just decided to like triple rent, or whatever,
whatever it is.
Yeah,
and I don't
just,
want to point fingers at landlord. There are people too who have businesses that they have bills to pay and mortgages and whatever that, but there needs to be some point of balance. You hope, because it can kind of keep creativity alive. And the reason artistic movements happen on the fringes is okay, well that's where they can afford to sort of exist, and then people like those things.
Yeah.
Like we agree, we like good food and drink now.
Yeah.
So in order for those things to still exist and be relatively affordable, there's got to be some kind of balance to happen. So, I mean, in general, I'm happy to see just the amount of creativity going on with good ingredients. It is awesome. And the fact that it's what is expected now is a lot higher than it was.
Well, there we go. Question 4.
All right.
Done. Cheers. Question 5, drink 5, last drink of the night. What are we drinking?
So this is our frozen espresso colada.
Ooh.
So we had to respond to the espresso martini resurgence.
Okay.
Right, we all thought it was dead.
No.
Turns out it wasn't.
All right.
So why not make it a frozen drink was sort of the idea. So we're using a couple kinds of rum, one of which is coconut cartel, which you have here. So this rum is Guatemalan, and it's interesting. It does not taste like coconut, but it's actually proofed with coconut water.
Okay.
It's really clean. It has an interesting sort of mouthfeel viscosity to it that I like a lot. It works nicely here. Got a little bit of reposado tequila. Got some orange liqueur, coffee liqueur. Cold brew is the coffee component, and then we top it with a coffee coconut foam. So we take coconut cream and incorporate Bustelo, so freeze-dried espresso,
All right.
into the foam. Put that into a siphon, and then we top it with a little bit of chicory salt. So that's kosher salt blended with chicory powder and to New Orleans style coffee.
Fuck yeah, awesome.
So, there we go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Hot damn. Yeah.
Yeah, Dunkin' Donuts shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's now just Dunkin'.
Love Dunkin', guy. What are you talking about?
Isn't it just Dunks now? Like.
Yeah, back home, yeah. They say Dunks. I mean, well, I'm so old.
How old are you?
I remember when they had table service.
Yeah.
At Dunkin'. So you could go sit down and someone brought you, like, you would order a donut.
I don't think we've ever had that here. That's.
Yeah, no, but like the economics of the time, it also tells you about what somebody actually likes to do.
Yeah.
You could be wait staff.
Yeah, for
at a Dunkin' Donuts.
Nice.
And there was also a Mr. Bill
Oh.
and a bit of a a back and forth between the two.
Gotcha.
Dunkin' Donuts won. That much I can say.
All right.
I actually remember when they made Dunkin' Donuts.
All right.
Even. It wasn't that long.
Yeah.
They stopped doing that probably 25 years ago.
They know you're right. They need to serve that at. I mean,
Yeah.
fucking if Starbucks can start serving boozy drinks, why can't Dunkin' Donuts?
Why not? Yeah,
Yeah.
with all their money, they can figure out a way to get that stuff licensed.
I mean, I would take that and a Boston cream any day. So like that.
I'm saying, let's do this.
Yeah.
I hope they're watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm out there. They want the recipe. We can work something out. That's all I'm saying.
All right. So question 5 comes down to flip the Whiskey Wednesday coin. You can flip it. You can spin it. You don't have to answer. The coin will give us the answer.
Okay.
One side says fuck yeah. One side says fuck no. But question 5 comes from Frank. And he wants to know, and again, I have no idea what this means or why, but he's like, I again reached out being like, got any good questions? And he's like, yeah, got one.
Oh, wow.
So
what should we say who Frank is?
Again, you talk about Frank.
Frank Iafa. So
Yeah.
Frank's author of the Waldorf Astoria cocktail
Yes.
book. Also was my boss for many years.
Yep, so talk about
Was the bar
restaurant.
manager
Yeah.
at Peacock Alley. Okay, so you've also interviewed Frank.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So, question 5. Does anybody drink scotch and water anymore?
Let's see.
Fuck no!
Fuck no. Yeah, you sound right. That was always his thing, because it was like, sometimes he'd be like at the end of the bar at night, and there was that bar, we didn't have doors, okay? If you can imagine a bar at the center of the universe,
Yeah.
like out of like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy meets that bar in Star Wars. Like that's kind of how it was. We're right in the lobby by the big clock. And anything and everything would happen, right? And you would have rock stars over, like legit, like like rock stars over here, politicians, like presidents, former presidents, current world leaders of other countries hanging out. Just hanging out, and random tourists from wherever. And people would just call all kinds of things. And so Frank would be at the end of the bar, being like, "Does anybody have a scotch and water? Like, give me a tour." Like, how many people say, "Just give me a Doers and water"?
Yeah.
It's like it was not a lot. Almost, I can't remember the last Doers and water I poured, which is fine. Honestly, I think the people that are just joining the ranks of the drinking population today owe it to themselves to just have a scotch and water and see what that was all about.
Absolutely.
Before, the amount of knowledge and access that a young drinker has today is way more than it was when I started drinking. Back when I was 21, the first drink I ordered was Doers on Rocks.
Okay.
Because that was what my grandfather was.
Awesome.
I was like, what of that?
Yeah.
And then moved along to other things after that. But, I think the Doers, maybe Doers, we can make Doers and water the drink of 2025.
I think, yeah.
A little of that.
Yeah, it's cash.
Doers cash.
It's like a little under. Yeah, absolutely. I
Also,
think it should.
Yeah, I'm here for that.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I'm down for it. Well, there we go. That's five drinks, 5 questions answered. Not even close to midnight. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Until we can drink together soon. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time, and this has been amazing.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Cheers.